Welcome back, folks, to our series Catching Up with some of our great Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame members. We really appreciate everyone joining today, and we're very blessed today to have one of the members of the class of 2018, Ryan Blake, joining us today. Ryan, how you doing?
Doing good. Thanks, Derek. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Ryan, fresh off, a member of Team Georgia, another victorious Callan Cup. Maybe we can start with that. How's your experience? You played the Callan Cup a lot for Georgia. Have you had good experience? We certainly enjoy you playing for us because you tend to win a lot of your matches. But maybe what does that event mean to you with John's name on it?
Yeah, well, especially with John's name on it now, and rightfully so. John was instrumental in getting me to start tennis back when I was 10 years old, going to his camp up at Big Canoe, and that's where I kind of got that first love of playing tennis. I mean, he made it so much fun. And with the Callan Cup, I had the privilege of being asked to play, I think, in the 35s, and have been consistently trying to play on the team for a number of years now through 55 and overs. It's a privilege. I enjoy competing. The guys, not just on our team, but just seeing the other guys and girls that you've run across through the so many years of playing tennis, Darren, you know what I mean? And you get to see them over and you get to test your skills and stuff. And as we get through more injuries, how we can battle over those as we're getting older. And Georgia's always had a good team. So again, it's been a big privilege for me to play.
Well, I will tell you, the 55 team this year was like an all-star team with you and Eddie Gonzalez, right, and John Hanna and Stephen Enix, who of course went into the Hall of Fame this past year. What a tremendous team! It's not a shock that you guys came out on top. So way to go. We appreciate that.
Yeah. The other teams are good.
Oh yeah.
We battled bad weather, short sets, etc. But it was fun. Had John Hanna and Enix playing and watching those guys gel together was always good. They came up a clutch on our second day with the win, and always watching Enix making those unbelievable volleys, and with Hanna and his flipping two-hand forehand return. It's just fun to watch. So it was good for them to come in the clutch. And then I got to room with Eddie G, which was good because
Perfect day, perfect weekend, perfect weekend.
yeah, Eddie is, of course, is like an encyclopedia. So you get to hear all the stories and you get to see the diplomat in work talking to everybody, and he's got such a great memory bringing up stories and stuff that you don't remember from many years.
Yeah, that's a heck of a team. You've had a lot of influences, I'm sure, over your tennis career. And I'm glad we did mention John Callan because he actually helped coach you. And I think people forget sometimes what a great director of tennis and teaching pro and coach John was. Everyone remembers him for his administrative side, rightfully so. He made such a great impact. But John being, and then Larry Schnall as well, probably your two main coaches, right, growing up. Can you talk about the influences that they had on you and how it kind of helped you get a love for the sport?
Yeah, so I didn't really have a lot of coaches, and John Callan was the first guy that got me into tennis. My mom and father we'd always go to Big Canoe, so they put me into a camp, and Callan made it so much fun. And after that, I knew I wanted to get more involved with tennis. So we were members of Rivermont Country Club, and that's where Larry was a teaching pro right after he had finished up at West Georgia. And so he was instrumental as well as getting me and continuing my interest in tennis, started playing on some junior teams there. I was still playing all the other sports and stuff. And as I started to quit all my other sports, I didn't really have a coach. And Callan was the director at Indian Hills. And so us in Doraville, Georgia, my dad would always take me like that 45 minutes to get that one lesson every month or two from him. And I remember John would restring my Wilson wooden rackets. And I'd always enjoy that. And I look back now knowing what a tennis pro has to go through every day as a director and stuff. And I'd come from all, from far away or whatever to get that one tennis lesson. And he was always energetic, funny, in tuned. And I look back and I go, that still had to be a difficult thing for someone just to grind, but he always had that in that genuine approach. And I think that resonated. There was always a um, positive reinforcement. And I like that because in my other sports that I played, there was always negative reinforcement. So it was always good to get that positive reinforcement from John. Then I knew that, okay, if he told me to go out there and hit against a backboard for 30 minutes or practice my serves or get in better condition, I would do it.
Yeah. Any truth to the rumor that one of the reasons why you picked tennis over football is because you wanted to meet girls?
Well, when they wanted me for football, and
Right.
that's true, when I thought I was going to be a quarterback, but since I was 6'2" and around 230 pounds as an eighth grader,
Oof.
they decided to put me on the line. And as I got better, um, through high school, there was a period at my end of my sophomore year that my coaches had told me that I had interest from the University of Georgia and Auburn. And we had these goal cards that we had to fill out. And I had already broken some records for weightlifting and stuff. And but that one of the other goals was that I wanted to lose 15 to 20 pounds. And so the football coaches had a meeting where they took me out of class and they said, "Hey, listen, you need to put on 60 pounds by the end of the summer.
Wow.
Okay. And that's what we need you to do. If not, they would make these threats, or you're going to run banks and all that stuff." And I knew then, I go, there's no way I'll get a girlfriend if I'm at 270. So at that point, I started playing more tournaments that summer and trying to lose weight. And as a result, my ranking went up. I enjoyed the game more. And I decided I'm not going to be a quarterback, nor do I want to play football in college. And my love for tennis just skyrocketed.
Everyone has motivations. I've been involved for a long time on the officiating side, and I always tell people I started officiating for one reason, to meet women, and I married a professional line umpire, so it actually works. So
Oh, is that
amazing.
true? I
Yeah, it's
didn't know
very
that.
very true. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. My wife Courtney, actually she ended up working 3 U.S. Open finals. Of course, we don't have line umpires at the Open anymore, so it's
I
different.
know.
But yeah, everyone has their motivations. That's a very strong motivation, my friend. I don't have to
Yes, it
tell you
is.
that. So. Yeah, so you had some success in high school, even with limited kind of competition and playing other sports. But then you decided to focus on tennis. So then you decided to go to take the trip down south to Statesboro and play for Georgia Southern. We had a fantastic career there, both individually and as you see on the screen. They didn't do too bad as a team while you were there as well. 71 match wins. Can you why Georgia Southern? Was it a coach? Was it the influence of Larry and John, a place that you could play high in the lineup to play some of these better schools as team best players? Why Georgia Southern?
It was interesting because, my dad was in professional basketball, coaching college and stuff. And I was looking around at colleges and I wanted to go to a college where I could play basketball and tennis.
Interesting.
And the two schools that I was looking at was North Carolina State, and Georgia Southern was an opportunity. And my dad had told me, he said, "Hey, just go ahead and sign the deal with Georgia Southern." I said, "Okay." He says, "You can get out of it anytime. It doesn't mean you have to commit." And so North Carolina State was there, and I wanted to play basketball under Jimmy V.
Yeah, I
So
was
I
gonna say
figured,
Valvano was there, wasn't he, at that
yeah.
time? Wow.
So, and Eddie G was there. Eddie Gonzalez was there. And I was
Yep.
like, okay, I knew Eddie pretty well. And there was Michael Gilbert. I said, oh, I know those guys. And I figured, okay, that's going to be a pretty good school. But we couldn't find the coach. The coach went missing for about a month, or we couldn't get in
Hmm.
communication. Then my coach at Georgia Southern called and goes, "I hear you're looking at other schools. You signed a scholarship deal to Georgia Southern." I said, "You have to come down to Georgia Southern." So I went to my dad and I said, "What's the deal? You made me sign this thing." And he says, "I don't know. I thought that you could do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But I
Sounds like an
wanted to go.
agent.
Huh? Well, I went to Georgia Southern because like Eric Burke was there. A lot of my friends were going there. It was a cool school. The tennis team was really, really good because I think they beat Auburn and Florida State the year before. Even though they didn't get a ranking, they were good. So I said, all right, this will be good. And when I got down there my freshman year, it was a solid, solid team. And I wasn't playing anywhere, from 5, 6, and 7, but I was also enjoying Georgia Southern quite a bit. So that was probably enabling me not to get it higher in the lineup. And I ended up getting into a motorcycle accident in the spring and wasn't able to compete. So over the summer, I refocused, matured, and I'd focused a little bit more on tennis, and then came back and really surprised and got healthy and surprisingly got the challenge matches and started winning. And I ended up playing number one for the next 3 years, singles and doubles, and actually became more of a leader, just really maturity through those next 3 years.
Hey, listen, every spot on the lineup means something. You're talking to someone who has the best record in the history of our school, where I played at number 6. But I also have the worst record in the history of our school at number 1. I played at UC Santa Barbara.
Oh,
So
you were at Santa Barbara.
I was at
Okay.
Santa Barbara, yeah, yeah, in the mid '90s. So little time after you had played. So yeah, number one's hard. Everybody has a good player. I don't care who you are. Everyone's got somebody good.
Everybody,
So
yeah.
yeah. So what a great experience. So did you enjoy those van rides on I-16 back and forth? And
Yes,
that's part of the allure of
the
Georgia Southern.
loneliest road in America.
It
And
is.
I remember and I didn't have transportation for a number of years at Georgia Southern,
Ooh,
Darren. And one year I got this letter from my dad. And he had told me that basically in the letter he was just really you could tell the anger, and explained to me in the letter how he was at me for getting a speeding ticket on 16. Now remember, back then it was 55 miles an hour, right?
oh, wow.
And you couldn't go 55 miles an hour. And he said his insurance was going up and it's crazy. He says, I'll take you out of school. I'll put you in a military school, the Citadel and all this. You can't be doing all this stuff. And I showed this letter to my roommate, who basically said, he goes, that's crazy. I can't believe the language from your father. He goes, wow, and that's on I-16. He goes, but he goes, Ryan, he goes, you don't have a car. And I go, yeah. So I called my mom up, and I said, Mom, I read her the letter. And I said, this is I-16. I said, this is what he told me. He goes, yeah. He says, I'll call you back. He goes, oh yeah, it was your dad that got the ticket. He goes,
Ah,
he goes, he doesn't even remember it. That's how bad that road
oh,
is.
that's funny. Funny. Yeah, it's quite a joy going up and down. But a lot. It seems Georgia Southern's probably attractive to some of our better Atlanta players, right? Because it's probably far enough away. You feel like you're going away to school, but close enough that you could probably, if you really needed to, do laundry on the weekends at home. It's probably what
Yeah,
it is.
when I went to school, it was call it a suitcase college, right? Everybody
Right.
didn't have classes on Friday, right, Darren?
Okay.
So they would leave on Thursday and go away. Well, I didn't want to go back home, so I always stayed around.
Yeah.
But it has evolved. When I went to school, it was like 6,000 people. When I left, it was 14. I think now it's between 16 and 20,000.
Wow.
And the tennis program right now is doing extremely well. A year ago, they got a new coach. And then the coach quit, and the team actually finished the season without a coach and did extremely well.
Wow.
They brought this new coach in, and he's done an incredible job. Me and a former teammate went down there to support them, kind of like on a reunion. It was
Okay.
just he and I, and we got to meet the coach and the players. And this year, they got ranked the highest that they've ever been. They won the conference
Right.
and lost in a heartbreaker during the conference tournament. And they're doing such a great job. They're improving the facilities. I mean, we went down there and I was like, man, I wish we had all this stuff when I
I
was
know.
down there.
I know my alma mater just got a brand new facility. I'm just laughing. I remember where we played, where our courts are now a parking lot. But it was crazy. But hey, it's things evolve, so that's good. That's a good thing. So yeah, after you finished at Statesboro, you decided to try to play a little bit and had some success, particularly in the doubles side. But spent a lot of time in Europe, and I think that's maybe what helped you. One of the fascinating things I think, Ryan, about you is I had no idea you were so involved on the NBA side as a scout. Mainly, your dad was heavily involved in the basketball side. Can you talk about your experience? You did qualify for the Australian Open one year, which is no easy feat. That beating the great Gilad Bloom, I saw. We remember Gilad,
Yeah.
funny guy.
Yeah.
You just talk about your experiences, maybe um, most fun
Sure.
place to play, worst place to play.
Sure.
You had a good time with it.
So when I left Georgia Southern, I actually was going to Georgia State. I wanted to get my master's degree in either advertising or journalism, which was my major. And I didn't know what I was going to do after that. I was going to go there. And I took my SAT, which I didn't do very well. Okay. And my counselor at Georgia Southern said I didn't have to do the math. I'd only taken one math. I did horribly. So here I am working at Northside Athletic Club and working there and playing with a bunch of players like Mel Purcell, Dan Cassidy, the Moores, all these guys that were coming back. And I found out I was doing pretty well. And I had some mentors there that I met at this club, and they were encouraging me to go play. And they were telling me, you're getting these results. Why don't you try it out? So I tried it out. I started going on the satellites. I went to India first, which was an enormous experience. Got my first points there, did well. And then I started playing, and I wanted to do this full time. My parents helped me out for the first year. After that, I was on my own. I tried looking for sponsors, but then I was taking some of the money that I had. And then I ended up meeting someone that offered their financial assistance, and Jim Hayes, Dr. Jim Hayes.
Okay.
And he was essential in not only just giving me the financial ability to go out there and play, but also the encouraging support. And that was really important. And along the way, again, I didn't have a coach, so I was trying to figure out and taking a very professional approach to the game, and didn't really have a lot of people on the outside that could help me out. But I started networking and trying to find. I had Jeff Austin, who now works for Octagon. He was Tracy Austin's brother, is
Right.
Tracy Austin's brother, but he knew, my dad knew him from the basketball world. So he would give me some tips, and I would just literally lean into players and say, hey, where's the best place to go play? What should I do? Etc. And I enjoyed the experience. It was rough. I didn't make money. But when I was in college, I didn't play basketball. So as a result, I still wanted my hand into basketball. So I started scouting while I was in college as well. So I would watch a lot of basketball games. I would actually travel to different places when I wasn't playing tennis. So I kept my hand in there with my father, who was the director of scouting for the NBA. And so when I would go to Europe, and let's say I'd go to Spain, I had some connections, so I might stay with a basketball team or a basketball player over there in one of their leagues. And I wasn't doing so well, so I wasn't having a lot of success on the tennis court, which gave me ample opportunity
Right.
to go watch basketball.
Right.
And this was
Long
during
weeks after you lose
'99.
first round. So
Yeah, you'd lose first round, second round, or you had to travel to, you had a week off here. And so I started watching basketball, just trying to, I always didn't want to just solely just be committed, not committed, just be just occupied with tennis so much. You had to have a break, right? I would still work out and do all the things necessary to play tennis and be involved, but I didn't want it to be consuming. So I go to these basketball games and I'd find these players and I go, these players are pretty good. And there was a lot of events going on. So I'd report back to my dad and I'd say, listen, I checked out a couple of these players. You need to check up on them. I said, there's a lot of good players out here. And as a result, I started getting this information back to my dad. He started putting this information out to the teams. The NBA then had more television rights going into international basketball.
Mhm.
Basketball became more popular. So we had to get more information out, or my father did, about international teams and events and so forth. And as a result, more and more people, international players, started getting drafted, or and because of these events that we were and statistics, et cetera, to the NBA teams were now more confident
Right.
and going to explore international players and stuff. And there was easier access, more information, the popularity, et cetera. So that helped on the basketball side. And then my tennis started getting better. And I started playing for a German team.
Right.
And I started using that money to fund myself throughout the basketball. I mean, throughout the tennis travels, et cetera.
Sounds like your dad was the kind of behind the camera Fran Fraschilla. They would
Well,
put Fran out there as kind of an international expert on every draft. I mean, the guy knew something about everybody. It was amazing.
yeah, well, Fran is that way. I mean,
Huh.
Fran was essential. It was always a key component in working the Treviso Eurocamp.
Right.
And my dad, when he was the general manager of the Hawks, he was the first player, first GM or first NBA team to draft international players. And those
Wow.
two players were Dino Meneghin and Manuel Raga. Dino is not only in the FIBA Hall of Fame, but in the International Hall of Fame, Naismith Hall of Fame. And
Right.
Manuel Raga is in the FIBA Hall of Fame. And if the Hawks had brought those two players, that could have changed the whole realm of NBA basketball at the time.
That's
Because
amazing.
Dino was a 6'11" versatile forward. He played for, I don't know, something like, he played up until his 40s. He was that good.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a basketball family. My sister's been in sports media for many, many years. She was actually for a long time a voting member of the AP poll for the women's poll.
Where's she at now? What's she
Well,
doing?
she actually now works for the University of Tennessee as their writer in their engineering department.
Really?
Right, but she for a long time she's been on all these crazy beats. UCLA, she was on the BYU beat for a couple years. She was the first
Wow.
woman ever to be hired to cover Tennessee football. But her love is one of her loves is basketball. So on the women's side, we've had a lot, and the international game on the women's side is starting to get there. I'd say that they might need your services. So stay
Yeah,
tuned.
well, as long as USA continues to dominate in
Yeah,
the Olympics, we're good.
yeah, we're good. We're good. But there's a lot of great players everywhere.
Yep.
So that's amazing. So, but what a great experience for that. How I understand you're a fashion trendsetter. Is that what some of the players have told me? They always one of the key components of any event you play at is everyone wants to see what you're going to come out wearing for your
Well,
matches. Do you have a favorite outfit?
I don't know. I was with Eddie Gonzalez the last weekend, and he's retired now,
Right.
as a former tournament director for the BB&T, but he's got these new undergarments, these mantees and stuff that he wants to sort of promote and stuff like that. But I don't think I'm ready for that. I'm just
Okay.
more comfortable in the stuff that I have in my closet and
Okay.
and stuff. But
Well, the good news is USTA events now don't have logo restrictions, right? Unlike we do at professional tennis. You'd be in trouble if this was circuit events.
that's true. Yeah. Well, thankfully, Yannick still supports me on my tennis game, and they've given me
Right.
a good number of T-shirts and stuff.
Okay.
I'm waiting for that garage shirt with my name on it from Yannick's, and that would work okay.
Yeah, my 8-year-old son is in a bowling league and he got a shirt with his name on it in the back and he wore it for the first
Nice.
time last night. I'm
Yes.
like, oh my God, this kid looks like a pro with his name spelled right, big letters. It was very, very kind of one of those aha moments. So that's great. So going into the Hall of Fame, you were blessed, I'm sure you feel the same way, to be inducted with the great Julie Reg. Um, what are your memories of Julie? Did you know her well before
I
you got it?
didn't,
Okay.
and I didn't know her well, and obviously before I had to write a speech. I wanted to do my homework, and I was blown away
Yeah.
really by Julie's background. And I think it's important too, as I look to people like John Callan, who, and I said so to the people that made and helped me in my love for tennis and to get as far as I did, whether it was playing or teaching. Um, those are the people that make an impact. And a lot of times, those coaches, regardless of whatever sport, can dictate whether you're going to draw that interest. I
Yeah.
remember my daughter is just an example, didn't have a really good basketball coach, and she loved basketball, and she quit because of her coach, right?
Yeah.
And she ended up finding the love a little bit later. But I think when you have someone that has a great approach, that has sincere, genuine love for the game, which I've ran into so many people, that it resonates with a lot of people. And I think, like with Julie, she obviously had that. John Callan had that. Even Larry Schnall, not even Larry Schnall. The one thing I learned from Larry, I got to play with Larry for so long, but he also hired me when I got off the circuit, and I didn't know how to teach. And there were so many things that I was humbled by, but got to understand that, keeping your energy, making it fun, the little things, even if you weren't a great tactician or could tell or articulate enough to tell people what they should improve on or show them, just giving them that love and interest is so important. And obviously, Julie did that.
Yeah, Julie's an amazing woman, done so much for tennis, like you have as well. So that was every class we have is a great class, but that one is, in my view, at or near the top in terms of the impact both of you have had. Now you have a lot of interests away from tennis, basketball we mentioned, but I believe music might be another one, right?
Yes.
Are you still with the famous band The Other White Meat, or have you guys retired?
No, we've disbanded.
Okay.
We had a falling out. No, we didn't have a falling out. I spend most of my time now up in Nashville. I still have
Okay.
my home in Woodstock. Still
Right.
play for Georgia. Okay,
Good.
not gonna leave. So if I get a good offer on my house, you've got to find me another one somewhere in Georgia.
That's good.
Landing, Savannah. Okay. Um, yeah, so I moved up to Nashville, and for the most part, spend most of my time. Great music
Oh
city.
yeah.
I got my drum set upstairs, in the loft. Played around with a few people, but no, I have a big love of music. I go down, ride my motorcycle down with some friends down to Jazz Fest every year to watch, Jazz Fest, which is a great event, and bring my tennis rackets down there. I got a buddy that doesn't ride down there, but we meet down there to hit. Um, and yeah, but I still love the music.
Sure. Oh, yeah, great. We had a college band, the guys on the tennis team, we were called Smooth Vanilla Shake.
What?
That was our
What,
band.
what, what was the name?
Smooth Vanilla Shake
Smooth Vanilla
that we
Shake.
played because we Santa Barbara, we have Isla Vista right there, the
What kind
community.
of music was this?
Whatever. It really wasn't, I don't even call it music. It was
Originals? Did you do originals?
yeah, a little, some remakes.
Oh, well,
I
that's
sang a
cool.
little
That's
bit.
I like
Mostly I was
that.
in the back going, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like
And
that.
what were you playing?
A little guitar, but mostly I sang a little bit.
Ah, oh,
Yeah.
good.
And
That's
that's where,
that's something in my band that we didn't have.
yeah.
Any singers.
Wow.
Our,
Better have
our
good
lead our
instrumental.
lead singer was great. He was a great front man. He was a great dude. He knew he couldn't sing, but everybody had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, no, music's great. It's a great outlet for people. Um, now you actually, one or two more things, Ryan. We really appreciate you joining us today. You actually, I believe, had a role in starting the Atlanta Pro League, right? And the reason why I ask you that is because it's actually back. The first Friday was last Friday at the Country Club of Roswell, and it was packed. So they've actually reconstituted this Pro League. What were the thoughts behind that? And it's exciting to see it back.
I know that brings up a lot of good memories. Back in the day, it was such a vain attempt for us to start something that could allow us to play in front of people again, even though we were
Right.
past our careers, so to speak. And we were still young back in the day and enough to put up some really, really good tennis. And we had so many ex-pros and college players, et cetera, in the league, and a lot of um, a lot of clubs that were geared to helping us out and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. You know, we had as we would have a draft. We would have a draft that was actually on the radio at one point with Steve Barnes from 99X was hosting and promoting, having Todd Holcomb and the AJC put up the results. It was cool. We loved
Yep.
getting the paper when we used to have papers, you know,
Yeah.
and read
They have 99X. They're
results.
back, by the way.
Say again?
99X is back on the air.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm still in
Very
touch
happy.
with Steve, and
Yeah.
which is awesome. I've heard his shows, it's great. And yeah, and then we'd get sponsors and have uniforms, which I thoroughly loved because I think at the time I either had football jerseys, something ridiculous, or garage shirts and stuff. And you would play, and if you won, you got to have a little bit of money. But it was also the camaraderie that you
Sure.
had with the players and stuff like that. And the community and the clubs. Because I remember I think when it started, this was in 95, I think, and Country Club of Roswell hosted, which I was the one of the head pros there, and Cindy Jones, who was the director,
Okay.
she was hosting, and they had like they had booths and food, and it was just amazing, and all the people that came out, it was like a real ATP tournament,
Right.
and it was a lot of fun, and you know, and I think in the USTA at a later point actually brought another pro league at a different level, not the Atlanta Pro League, but a USTA. So they kind of continued with that for a while, and then now it's coming back. Stephen Inks told me that he's a captain of one of the teams,
Yep.
and he had a draft, and he drafted Eddie G. And Eddie G didn't know he was on the team because
Right.
Eddie G just came back from France and Germany where he was playing and visiting and travel.
Yeah.
So I wish I was there that I could go back and play. But when I go back into town this summer, I'm definitely going to try to hit up one of those so I can go see the matches and also catch up with some of the boys.
Yeah. The reports of the first night last Friday were fantastic. So that's great. I know you were a huge part of the start of that and keeping it alive. So
Hopefully we can have
kudos.
some, I don't know if they do, are they drafting women as well? Because there's a heck of a lot of
Uh,
good women players out there.
I hate to answer. I'm not sure. They should,
Yeah.
we have so many great female players. I would hope that they would be part of it.
Yeah.
They might just, I'm not sure, but
I don't
hopefully.
even know if we did, to tell you the truth. Maybe we
Yeah.
did open it up. I don't know
Yeah.
why we wouldn't. You know, see, being here in Nashville, it's so different in Nashville than it is in Atlanta. And I'm trying to still just try to figure out here in Nashville, they have it's so beautiful. There's so many great neighborhoods that don't have tennis courts. There's some public courses. They have a great system with Williamson County Rec, some great teachers. My girlfriend is a teacher and a great player and stuff. But there's not a lot of places where you can go and have this just go out and play like you can in Atlanta. And that's what I miss about Georgia. They have a really good tennis league for guys, which is also opened up for women. It's called the MTTL, where they have 4 singles and 4 doubles.
Wow.
And it's on Thursday nights. It's different from Alta, but it's the only time that I understand that guys have some sort of league. And sadly to say, they make Fatty here play singles, and it really hurts because it's on hard courts and
Oh,
stuff. But it's a lot of good guys. But it's totally different
mm,
up here in
oh,
Nashville
sure.
than it is in Georgia.
Yeah. No, Atlanta specifically is a very unique environment. Hopefully people appreciate Atlanta, and I know
Yeah.
they do, and I know you do as well. So we're very blessed to have so many great players and enthusiasts of the game living in our great state, and you being one of them. So, last question here for you, Ryan. So when you got the phone call that you were going to be inducted into the Georgia Hall of Fame, I'm curious what was the first couple thoughts that went through your head, and what does the Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame mean to you?
Yeah, so Alan Miller had given me a phone call, and I was a volunteer coach at Kennesaw State. and I was meeting with a player who was thinking about transferring. He was going through some stuff.
Yeah.
And Alan called me up, and I was sitting down with the player. I just got finished, and I was going to re-meet with him. And Alan said, "Yeah," he told me, and I said, "Me, you know?" And then he sort of started telling me why, and I was kind of numb because like I would never have thought or think about that. And I was kind of just walking back to the course, and I was going to meet with that player. And I said, "Listen, make a long story short, I said, listen, there's a lot of things that you need to think about before you make this type of decision." And I told him about I had received this accomplishment, I guess, lack of a better word. And I said, "This is what it means to me." And I said, "This is what Kennesaw State can mean to you." And I said, "I want you to pause and wait on this." And he came back the next day, and I'm still kind of miffed and in awe that I had got selected. And he came back to me and he told me he appreciated everything that I said. He was going to stay.
Great.
And it made me so humbled to think that, you know, I could pass along something that meant so much to me and articulate that to someone else and help somebody, and what this game has meant to me. And even though I may come out there with a stupid looking shirt on or whatever, uh, tennis means a lot to me. You know, basketball might have been my first love. Tennis, I was in limerence with it, but tennis is my sport, even though it's not my occupation, and I'll always be a part of it. And so will Georgia. And that's the main reason why I keep my house in Georgia, so I can play for Georgia.
God bless you, my friend. Well, the sport is much better because you're involved and a true Hall of Famer in every sense of the word. So Ryan, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Darren. I appreciate you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the great Ryan Blake, class of 2018 Georgia Tennis Hall of Fame member. We appreciate you listening to today's interview. Look for the next one shortly. Thanks for watching.